Welcome back to WWE. WrestleMania 41 is coming up this weekend, and we have one of the biggest matches of the year, something a lot of people have been looking forward to for a long time. We have CM Punk facing Roman Reigns, facing Seth Rollins, and of course, the favors, Paul Heyman. I want to blur the lines this week between fantasy bookings and predictions. I have an idea in my head that I think we're heading towards, and I want to blur the line between me saying, hey, this is how I wish it would happen, and here's how we could tell an amazing story, to I think I'm going to call this one out. I think they are going to take a piece of this, and they are going to do it. So I'm going to try to walk that line and call out the differences between what I actually think is going to happen versus what I want to see happen. So let's go through the list. We've got Punk, Roman, Rollins, Heyman. But I think we also have The Rock. So let's take this back a minute. The underdog, if you would, in this scenario is Seth Freakin Rollins. He hasn't won anything of note in quite some time. The last time he held the title was at WrestleMania, where he emphatically lost to Drew McIntyre right off the bat, as soon as he took multiple claymores to the face, as soon as the bell rung, basically. He's been doing a balance between nursing injuries, being a dad, kind of finding that balance, but he's also been ignored out of the actual big storylines. When Cody Rhodes came back to the WWE, they threw him at Seth Freakin Rollins. So Seth had to lay down for him. You can't have him return and immediately lose. That wouldn't make any sense. They had Seth basically lay himself down for Roman, use Seth as a pedestal to lift Roman up. Okay, he got the short end of the stick again there. Now, fast forward and Punk's back, and this is where it gets really interesting because we still don't know how much of what Rollins is telling us about how his hatred for Punk, how much of that is real versus just a work. Obviously, it's probably a combination of the two, but I'm really curious how far that goes. Seth strikes me as a guy that understands he needs to do certain things to get the opportunities that he wants to seek. But there is a limit on his career. There is a shelf life on his career. And if he doesn't start getting put into these conversations in the right manner, he can't move forward. He can't achieve his goals that he has for himself. Okay. Well, then we take a look at Punk. Punk's foreshadowed over and over and over again, starting way back, almost going all the way back to last summer. Hey, I want to be at WrestleMania. I'm doing the things I need to do to go to WrestleMania. Every time he would get through a segment with Drew McIntyre, he would point and he would say, hey, I'm heading to WrestleMania. And we all know the real goal in that conversation. It was, I want to fight for the title in the main event at WrestleMania. It wasn't just the main event. We're getting very hung up on this idea that he has this dream of he wants to main event WrestleMania. But we know the real reality. He wants a belt. So they've been throwing a bit of fodder at him. He had a very long, drawn-out story with Drew McIntyre that obviously they didn't really plan for it to go as long as it did when it originally started, but, you know, the injury to his arm forced their hand a bit there. It got to elevate him, and to a large extent, I think it elevated Drew McIntyre, who I still believe is one of the absolute top talents that they have right now that's being horribly misutilized, and man, I hope that comes to a head soon. But the path is too clear for Punk. They keep saying, all right, I'm going on my next step. I'm going to my finish line. I'm going for that world title at WrestleMania, and interruption, detour, sidetrack. There's only so many times that they can tell that story before they have to get somewhere with it. So they've fabricated this story that now involves the two of them with Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns obviously just went through one of the biggest stories for the last couple of years, but specifically with Cody Rhodes, the big resurgence, The Undertaker appearing at the end, and by the way, we all know that that should have been Stone Cold, who, by the way, Stone Cold is in Vegas right now. Little hint, hint, wink, wink there. But it really doesn't make all that much sense for Roman and Punk to have this feud. They just kind of slapped it together. Obviously, we had the War Games match. Punk came in, did a favor for him. We knew where that was heading, and now the character arc they've decided to take with Roman is, oh, I didn't realize that I was going to have to pay a favor, which is a real strange thing to me considering everybody knew he was coming to help you. If you had a fit with, hey, I don't want to have to owe a favor, then don't accept the help. That's pretty straightforward. Seth is the only thing that in this match really truly stands out to me as this makes sense. Seth has demonstrated at every turn he hates CM Punk's guts. Seth has demonstrated that he's over Roman Reigns, back with the Shield chair shot that they recently paid a tribute to. Back to when he was telling Cody around this time last year of, I'll be your Shield. And then inevitably he showed up in the Shield outfit, cracked him over the back, and ultimately you could argue Seth is the reason why Cody Rhodes was able to overcome those odds. After WrestleMania, Roman disappeared. Probably for some movie, TV, media, something, right? But in canon, he disappeared. And they've already touched on this, but it's always bothered me. He left for a period of months, specifically allowing Paul Heyman to be held hostage by Solo Sikoa. They drug that out for quite a while. It was obvious Paul Heyman was scared to death. It was obvious he was trying to get Roman to help him. Paul Heyman infamously didn't sleep for at least one day, maybe even two, knowing him, but didn't sleep so he could have this effect on his face with his eyes as bloodshot as they could be, as he was going to be tormented by Solo for the last time, and ultimately Solo put him through the table, writing him off the show for a number of weeks and months. So let's take a look at what Paul brings to the table for these three. Punk is one of the greatest talkers in the business. He doesn't need a manager. That's simple. Pairing them up together is almost like a nostalgia tour where they're going to hit the highlights and then they're going to be done. It doesn't really hold real value. Paul is at his best when he can take someone with unbelievable physical athleticism and help them bridge the talking part of the game and become something bigger than themselves. Perfect example, Brock Lesnar. Perfect example, Roman Reigns. To this day, I still think Roman is one of the worst microphone users in the industry. I think it's played out. I don't think he has a lot of in his bag of tricks. And if it wasn't for the fact they were hiding him and making him elusive and this rare thing that you're excited to see, and the fact he has Paul Heyman running his mouth for him, I don't think he gets over. Obviously, he's got a real look. He's got a real aura, a real presence. He knows certain things that are definitely working and definitely paying off. But if you really left him out there to run his mouth, I don't know that you're going to be happy with the results that you get. And then there's the bloodline. When he finally did come back, we did this almost world tour of, hey, Jimmy's back. Jimmy's trying to fight to mend everything back together. We even brought back in Sami Zayn. Oh, the family's getting back together. And then we're bringing back in Jey Uso. Oh, the family's getting back together. And then what did they do with it? We go to the first episode of Raw on Netflix. Roman wins the Ulafala back away from Solo. Okay, we're done. Jimmy is discarded by Roman. Sammy is discarded by Roman. Jay is discarded by Roman. We have no plans for him, or at least nothing's been presented to us, at least at the moment, that we can tell. We have a natural path now where Solo Sikoa is going to have a falling out with Jacob Fatu, and still don't know what they plan to do with Tommy Tonga, Tom and Loa. I still can't get their names right. So when one of them comes back from injury, where do we go with that? We're probably going to see some of that play out at WrestleMania. I predict this is going to be the time when we finally see Fatu and Solo snap. Like, okay, well, they can have their rivalry, but that's still not a head of the table conversation. We're all expecting at some point we're going to go back and we're going to challenge for the Ulafala. But what if we're not? I don't think that's where we're heading. As amazing of a talent as Fatu has proven himself to be, they haven't really positioned it to be exciting that, oh, Fatu's going to go after the Ulafala. They've almost kind of positioned him as he wants what he wants and he's going to take what he wants and that's it. And right now he wants something that's not the head of the table. It's almost like he doesn't want the responsibility. He just wants the gold and that's it. He doesn't want to worry about running the family. Okay, that's fair. We've had a couple of pose-offs with Braun Breaker and Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. We had a pose-off with Braun Breaker and Fatu. And in both of those instances, very big pop from the crowd. Very much interest in that. And I think the Fatu one's the best because they didn't really get into it. It just left you going, oh, I want to see that. But we're not really seeing Fatu moving in that title direction for the Universal. And it makes sense. You can't really put Fatu into the Rock story, I don't really think. I don't see a good path there. So, what the hell is Roman doing? Where's his story going? Okay, fine, he does this match. He wins, he loses. And? What's next? So, because of that, I think we're going to get a little bit of an upside down. So, we just saw Monday Night Raw end. We saw Rollins putting it down to Roman Reigns, putting Punk down, and standing tall. Well, history dictates if you're the one standing tall and the last time you're on TV going into an event like WrestleMania, well, you're probably going to lose. They're trying to make you look good so that they can kind of balance things out and put you down later and also make you seem like a bigger threat to overcome. I don't think that's where we're going with this. So let's go to The Rock. How does he factor in this? Well, if you recall, The Rock is the one that put the Ulafala on Roman Reigns on the premiere of Raw on Netflix. The Rock currently has only revealed one thing to us. He's revealed John Cena. We all know The Rock's not making appearances. We all know John Cena's not making appearances. It's going to be very limited how they use them, and quite frankly, we need to tell a story week to week to week to week. We even love it when we see Cody appearing on SmackDown and Raw, crossing over and just really getting into it. We also need to be able to tell stories on lower level PLEs. Right now, they've positioned everything to where they're only going to show up for WrestleMania, SummerSlam, Survivor Series, and maybe the Rumble again, maybe WrestleMania again, and then who knows from there, right? But there's a big vacancy that exists right now with Cena not being on TV as much as he needs to be, and obviously they haven't even mentioned The Rock for the past couple of months, other than CM Punk, I think, did once, but they're not even mentioning him. That can't go on forever. It's boring. Right now, you can get off on the anticipation, but it's not going to last. So what does The Rock need? I think he needs a couple of things. I think he needs a mouth, and I think he needs an enforcer. Someone that can be there week to week. Paul Heyman and Seth freaking Rollins are two of the best talkers that the WWE has right now. So you could argue that Rollins could do both, but Rollins also can't be on every single show all the time. Well, he could be, but given what we've seen over the last year, I don't think that makes a lot of sense because I think there is some balancing with trying to be a dad, things along those lines. What if during the triple threat match we see a repeat? Repeat of what? Let's go back to Elimination Chamber. The last images that we saw was John Cena putting CM Punk into the STF and him passing out. But that's not actually the full ending. Right before that, after Seth Rollins had already been eliminated, he curb stomped CM Punk. And then CM Punk was put into the STF, and then CM Punk lost, and Cena won. Last year, we saw The Rock come out. He held up the three fingers, and we were all talking, what does the three fingers mean? Well, after Cena turned, we're like, oh, he was just making the Cena fingers. He was just holding in the wrong direction. I don't think that's it. Yes, maybe there's some truth to that. Maybe that was intentional, the way he held it. But I still think there's value in the number 3. And the question is what would the number 3 be? Well, the obvious is Cena's number 1. But do you remember Paul Heyman held up the exact same 3 when he counted 1, 2, 3. And he counted it the exact way that The Rock did. If I'm not mistaken, I think this is somewhere around the December-January timeframe. I think this was leading up or around the Solo Sikoa feud. But he did the 3 symbol. And Paul is a mastermind in this business, and he's also the type of guy that could absolutely troll us with, hey, I'm just going to tease this and it's not going to mean anything. Or he did it the once, did it completely out of context, talked about a pin count, 1, 2, 3. And that was him signaling us. The Rock needs a mouth. Paul is a mouth. And historically, the way they've presented the Samoan legacy, the family, is that there's been a wise man. Heyman has been the wise man. So what if Paul Heyman, in this moment, is being set up to merge with The Rock, to be his voice, to be his wise man? Oh. Well, now that alludes to The Rock as the tribal chief. And that's my fantasy booking. I think Rollins, out of a combination of being passed over, he's going to exude a blend of revenge and ambition. He is constantly being pushed aside. He's constantly not in that big picture event. He's constantly just a tool. I think he has reached this point where he's going to just embrace it. He's going to say, if I can't have it, then you can't have it either. I'm going to crush you. And maybe I'll be taken care of by The Rock on the other side. I believe Seth Rollins showed us his true colors when at the Elimination Chamber, he curb stomped CM Punk right before John Cena put him into the STF. I believe Seth Rollins and John Cena were sent into the Elimination Chamber for the sole purpose of making sure at least one of them was able to go on to WrestleMania and take on Cody Rhodes. The way that the match played out before they revealed their hands, Seth Rollins got eliminated. So from the point that he was eliminated, he now had a job to do. It was his responsibility to make sure John Cena would win. We would see John Cena grabbing onto CM Punk, pulling at his legs, Punk holding onto the ropes, and Punk would kick Cena off of him. And that's the moment Seth Rollins would stomp him into the ground, making absolutely certain that John Cena would be able to go on to win. Cena would then clamp on the STF. Punk passes out. Match over. Job done. John Cena and Seth Rollins were able to do what The Rock sent them out there to do. They made sure they would go face Cody Rhodes at WrestleMania. So my prediction, and this is where we're going to blur the fantasy booking with a prediction. My prediction for this Saturday night, and I think it's important that it is Saturday night, a day separated from the true main event on Sunday night. I believe there will be Seth Rollins as a victor after Paul Heyman has turned his back on both both Roman Reigns and CM Punk. I believe we will see The Rock make an appearance on Saturday night. He will walk out to the ring, and they will place the Ulafala on The Rock. He will take back the family. So what does this give us? We have Seth Rollins, who's now sold out. He's now become everything he has said he despises and he hates and he resents. But at a certain point, maybe that has just boiled up enough that he has just become what he's hated. He's now at a stage where he'd rather burn it down than see it continue. This gives us an opportunity to have an enforcer that is primarily allocated to Monday Night Raw. This gives us the ability to have a mouthpiece that is primarily allocated to SmackDown. And of course, they have the ability to blend back and forth between the two. But it also puts Roman outside. Roman can't be outside. Can't be left on the bench. So what's he gonna do? He's just been humiliated. He's just lost his wise man. He's alone. He has no family. He's got no Jimmy. He's got no Jay. He's got no Sammy. He's got no Solo. Where does he go? Well, naturally, he's got some rage. He's going to have to channel that rage. He's going to want to point that rage in a direction. So either he just completely ignores everything that happens and we go back to doing a bloodline feud with Fatu or some derivative of that, or we see him disappear again, which in reality he's probably going to disappear again, and we see everything gearing up for him to start pointing his energy at The Rock. Now, as he starts coming back and he starts pointing his energy at The Rock, now we have another question of, does he 100% oppose The Rock? Or are we going to walk that line of, does he need to honor the family and serve The Rock? I think we're going to get a tease on what that's going to be, but I think it's inevitable. Roman Reigns is going to remain a babyface. They spent a lot of time trying to get Roman to actually be in that babyface position. They've mostly accomplished it at this point. I think there's still some opportunities to move it forward. And I think that's going to overlap into a story with Jay at some point. Well, Punk's madder than hell now. He just got screwed again. Keeps happening. Who should he be angry at? On one hand, he just wants to go for the belt. Okay, that's probably going to be Cena at this point, so it still aligns under that Rock picture. On the other side, he just wants Raw revenge. He's probably going to want to finish that third match with Seth Rollins. Keeping in mind, he beat Seth clean on the premiere of Raw on Netflix. They had kind of a stalemate, you could argue, on a recent TV show in the steel cage match where Roman interfered at the end. I think technically, if I remember correctly, Rollins ended up winning that match. So technically, it's 1-1, if I remember correctly. Maybe I'm wrong. But you've got to go somewhere now. You've just had Cody Rhodes, biggest babyface in the company, lose his title. I don't even know that he's going to get cheated out of it. It might be close to straight up. You now have Seth, or Punk, now feeling like he missed another opportunity to beat the hell out of Seth. Seth screwed him over somehow. He's been betrayed by his greatest friend, Paul Heyman. And of course, he's not very fond of Roman Reigns. And now you've got Roman, who just had the Ulafala taken off of him, and now he's got no family again, and he's alone again. I think you're painting a picture where if you start eyeballing Survivor Series and the War Games, I think you're starting to paint a picture between you've got some of the top talents you've ever seen. Cody Rhodes, Roman Reigns, CM Punk, all gearing up to fight against The Rock's army. Now, the number of entrants, I think, can be modified to purpose, right? It doesn't have to be the exact same thing we always see every time with the number of people, but it also leaves some room for, well, who else is going to be there? I think you could argue that there's a place for Fatu to fill a spot for The Rock. There's a place for Bronson Reed to potentially come back and try round 2 of that and hopefully not break his ankle this time. I think there's an opportunity for Drew McIntyre to have to team up with CM Punk and Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes, the guys that he's constantly saying are screwing him over and abusing the fans and lying to them. I think you might have a window to see him have to be on their side. But that's my prediction. I think Seth freaking Rollins is going to win the triple threat match. I think Paul Heyman is going to turn his back on CM Punk and Roman Reigns. Not necessarily to align with Rollins directly, but for Rollins and Heyman to align to The Rock. I think The Rock is walking out of night 1 as the tribal chief. He's going to ascend to an even more final boss. There's some extra stories that this is going to present coming off the backside of it. May make a separate video of this, but with Roman being torn down as low as he can go, and with the Ulafala being stripped and that becoming the next big thing to go to, and the family all pulling away, there's another story to be told that I think culminates in Jey Uso becoming the next tribal chief. Those are my thoughts. There were some predictions in there. There was some fantasy bookings all over the place. I'd love to just have a feedback loop going. I'd love to see what y'all think about my thought process. I'd love to see if y'all have a different idea. Obviously, some of this is definitely not going to happen. I definitely do think we're seeing Paul Heyman and Rollins this Saturday turn. I think that is definitely happening. And if it does happen, the only logical next step is why, and The Rock is that makes sense for that. And I think it would be such a good graphic and a good image to see the Ulafala being placed on the Rock by Paul Heyman. So I do want to get called out for that. If it doesn't happen, then so be it. I was having fun with it. I enjoyed it. That was my joy in the Saturday weekend. I'll probably put out another video that talks about the path for Jey Uso, but for now, let me know in the comments, like and subscribe if you're still here with me, if you liked this, if you enjoy these exercises of just seeing what could happen, what could be done differently, how could he move the chess pieces in a different way. If that's fun to you, hit the like and subscribe, leave a comment. I'm trying to grow this. It would help out a lot, but until next time, y'all have a good one. Enjoy WrestleMania weekend.